So videos I've posted in the past with layout B in them seem to do quite well. So let's take another look at the layout here. One of the reasons I think this layout is popular is because of its size. It's 5 foot 3 inches by 10 foot 3 inches, so it's a smaller layout, and I think more people can relate to that. It's something you can put in a bedroom or spare room, corner of a basement, in an attic or a garage, and the layout is, well, fairly finished, which I think draws the attention of more people. Of course, a layout that's fairly finished, well, it looks a lot better. It looks really good. So my layout, called the Great Lakes Eastern, GLE for short, has two layouts. A and B. So here's why. So I don't know how well or how much I've mentioned this in past videos. The reason why there's two layouts. Layout B, which you see in front of me here, is my original layout. This is what the Great Lakes Eastern Model Railroad was going to be, except that big. So what happened? Why are there now two layouts? So about a year or so after building the original Great Lakes Eastern, which is now layout B, I realized that the curves were a problem. They're a little too sharp. The reason they're a little too sharp is because these corner modules were built to be only 27 inches wide. Why? So they could go through a doorway. You see, the entire model railroad is built in sections, in modules, because the layout has been moved and is going to be moved yet again from this basement to our future house. The layout B in particular here has been moved several times in its lifetime. So the modular system works great. These modules are not designed to connect with any other model railroad. They're only meant to connect with themselves to build this layout. But because of the dimensions that the original corner modules were built to, the inner curve is too sharp for all the larger modern freight cars and passenger cars that I run. The outer curve is a 22-inch radius, and the inner curve is 18. You'll see here that there are passenger cars on layout B. These passenger cars are designed to handle a tighter radius, but I only operate them on the outer track, because on the inner track they just don't look right, and they fuss a little bit. They don't quite track right, and they derail and uncouple. On the outer track they're fine. But another problem is the two tracks are a little too close together on the curves. The straightaways, doesn't matter, that's fine. They pass just fine. But on the curves, sometimes the overhang catches the train on the other track. So the layout was built fairly quickly. Like I said, after about a year or so, I realized the curves were not going to work out. But already by that time, the layout was about the size you see it today, had quite a bit of scenery already on it, and there were a few specific modules already built. So I didn't want to just tear it up and start over. So what did I do? After a lot of consideration, I decided to keep the layout the way it was and simply start another layout from scratch. A layout with larger radiuses, maybe change the code of the rail, maybe go DCC, because these are all things I was intending on doing with this layout from the start in the future. But if I'm just going to start over, I thought, why not just do all those things on the new layout? And there's the new layout. So that's why we have a layout A and a layout B. So layout B is a DC powered layout, which was another factor because all of my locomotives, most of them being Atherton Blue Box units, are all DC. So all of them would have to be converted, and I didn't want to do that. My soldering skills are fairly lousy. Even the large big boy here is DCs, and I definitely didn't want to tackle converting him. That's a River Rossi model from the early to mid 90s. Still runs okay to this day. The track on the layout is code 100 Atlas. Many of the turnouts are also Atlas, but I'm going to be changing those out for Pico to take advantage of their power routing feature. Both the tracks here of the main line 1 and 2 are separately powered, and I'm going to be upgrading the DC power supplies to supply more power to each individual track and to supply power for the future lighting and accessories that currently this layout doesn't have any of. Let's take a peek at some of the specific modules that help save this layout. One of the very first modules I built, if not the first module I built when I was creating the Great Lakes Eastern, was this corner here. This bridge and the dam under it is modeled after the Montreal River trestle that crosses the Montreal River. The rail line is the Algoma Central, north of Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. I'll insert a photo of the prototype here. This scene right here, this module right here, is the oldest part of my entire model railroad. In fact, this clip here, which you see in the beginning or the intro of every video, shows you that this used to be just a really small diorama in my bedroom. So I decided, or I knew right away, I didn't want to tear this up. This is one of my favorite modules. This is a model of our summer place. The mobile home was actually built to scale. I measured the real mobile home, scratch built it. I think I was only 16. It was my first scratch building project ever. The apple tree out in front there that I'm standing under is no longer there. Along with a few of the pine trees along there, they've also died off. The shed was actually new that year that you see here, and everything is painted using the real paint off of the trailer, because that same summer we painted the trailer. The neighbor's house is modeled after a model kit barn. I think it's a model kit. And I added the porch. Again, this was one of my very first attempts at scratch building, or kit bashing in this case. The real house does look kind of like a barn. It's the shape it has. So it was pretty easy to just add a porch and call it good enough. I think it looks fine. I'm really proud of this scene, and I knew I didn't want to tear it up. So because of scenes like this, I knew the layout as a whole, I didn't want to tear it up. So that's another factor as to why I kept this and just built another layout, which is now layout A. And here's another set of scratch-built houses. And this was another early scene that I built. This is actually the house I lived in for many years and where this layout started its life. Except for that module there, that started in my bedroom in my childhood house, which we lived in prior to this one. So that one there was our house, and that's where my parents live today. And then this is their neighbors. They live on a cul-de-sac, and every one of these houses is scratch built out of basswood, balsa wood, and evergreen styrene. The rest of the modules are a little more free. This is the Walther's paper plant kit, which I'm using to represent the paper mill, or the St. Mary's paper mill that was in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Now in the future, I am going to make this layout a little longer. I'm going to add 2 more modules, one on each side, so it will get 5 feet longer. And that way I can make this rail yard longer, more prototypical. And also, there are plans, if you see there's a turnout here, I'm going to connect the layouts together, cross the aisle, and tie in on that curve there. Now the bridge will be unpowered. It's just a means for me to roll the trains across. The layout is big enough where I'll have plenty of modeling and operating opportunities, so I don't have to worry about building a sophisticated bridge here where I can just automatically run the trains across. I'll just manually move them. Now let's close this video by running a few trains around. Again, thanks for watching. Until next time, everybody take care.